You know me, so then you can.
Yeah, I was
Just get out with it. Will do. Thanks, Rob. What about their room? 58.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better. Yeah. What's option? Hey. Very good.
Is Kevin gonna be by Zoom?
Spain.
He's in Spain. Okay.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can you stand, please, for a moment of silence for a private prayer? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as you can see, Commissioner Codish isn't here. He's on family business. And so to make the meeting go a little more efficiently, I'll make motions and Commissioner Weiss, if he so desires, will second the motions. Vote. Okay, first order of business is the approval of the minutes of June 4th. I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second that.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, those minutes are approved. Treasurer's report.
Morning.
Morning.
The following bills are to be paid pending approval. Accounts payable with total of $648,569.34. Payroll for the period was $403,577.51. 911 had checks and EFTs totaling $10,656.78. CYS account had 5 checks and 91 EFTs totaling $130,493.09. LEPC had a check for $41.21. Act 137 had a check for $7,263.06. And finally, the PID account had a check for $33,461.73.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to pay our bills.
Second.
Those in favor say aye. Okay, bills are paid. Continue.
Treasurer's report for the period beginning 6/3 and ending 6/16/2026. General account had a starting balance of $1,596,056.25. Total debits for the period $1,498,047.31. Ending balance for the period was $2,040,385.94. And finally, the reserve account with $11,152,531.69.
Okay, thank you. And I'll move motion to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed. Okay, thank you, Diane. The meetings and events, I gave a list to the chief clerk for incorporation in the minutes. I do want to point out that in 2 hours, we'll be dedicating or rededicating downtown the Fountain Square Plaza in the name of, well, recognizing John Zimmerman's contributions to the community. I will be attending that later on in the morning. Commissioner Weiss.
A couple of things. I attended the life-changing celebration at the Compass Building. It's a organization that gives out bicycles to special needs, so they have the opportunity to ride bikes. Also attended the human trafficking seminar. Excuse me, and also attended the Dream Center celebration ribbon cutting. And
Okay,
Kathy has the rest of mine.
very good. And I want to recognize Anna Miller and Courtney Specht for taking part of their summer out to come and video our meetings. Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, under a public comment, first we have your in the first, Mr. Leeper.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mike Leeper. Thank you, Mr. Postal, Mr. Wise, Mr. Snook. I think we know each other. Rob, Noah, Steve, thank you. To date, there has been much said about the many aspects and prospects of a proposed rumor data center development in Granville Township, Mifflin County. Those talks have been in various venues, such as planning committee meetings, county commissioner meetings, township supervisors meetings, and in addition to other formal and informal resident and citizen group meetings. During all of these meetings, there has been a lot of comments made and questions asked. But also to date, there has not been a lot of definitive answers, and more so, a lot and still a lot of unknowns. Unknowns and unanswered questions, which I might add, in and of themselves, lead to more questions, and unfortunately and subsequently builds anxiety, confusion, and even animosity. Basically, there are many more questions than answers. For many of the meetings, comments, concerns, and questions have been centered around the term environmental impact. One word. I know, technically speaking, or in actuality, 2 words, environmental impact. But in reality, that one term has so many tentacles attached and are individually, each and of themselves, are extremely important. Some of those tentacles, tangents, subsections, however you want to classify them or it, are and could have potential environmental impacts on things such as air quality, water quality, the integrity of the water table, that is the drinking water and general household use water, and the potential and compromise to the aquifer. In short, the underground structure of combination of rock, sand, soil formations that by nature's design adds to and helps purify the groundwater. In addition, there are potential to groundwater contamination from runoff, along with stormwater discharge issues that have potentially to cause low-level flooding and possible and probable soil erosion. Such runoff that could potentially compromise waterways as the nearby Juniata River. In addition, there is noise and nuisance sounds and the potential of nuisance lights pollution, and many other potential negative and or pollution or points of impact. In general terms, there exists a potential to negatively impact the quality of life for the residents and homeowners of Granville Township, Mifflin County. Many concerns with even more unknowns and many more unanswered questions remain. Those aforementioned potential negative effects are not even addressing the very and the all-important potential long-term health-related issues. What are those potential health-related issues? What are those impacts, impacts? Are there any short-term health issues? What about and or the possible long-term health issues that may develop many years from now and could possibly result in death? Health effects that I'm sorry and very sad to say will possibly never be able to be proven, and subsequently and potentially will have to be fought in a court of law. Perhaps maybe you or I could be affected or develop such health-related issues from the operation of a data center. Do we really know for sure that there is no potential health-related risk from the operation of a data center? But continuing on, what are the potential effects on the current infrastructure, such as roadways, highways? What about traffic patterns and concerns? What about security issues, both locally and beyond? What about all the types of issues? And are these burdens going to be addressed? And more importantly, who is going to pay any costs associated with any overburdening of such? How is any and all potential increases of overburdening to the wastewater treatment facilities going to be addressed? These are just a few. It goes on and on. In addition, there has been a lot of discussion about the unknowns of the supply side of the equation, like electricity and the effects of and on the power supply grid and potential effects of the residential, industrial consumers' needs to operate and live without interruption of such utilities. What is the effect of and subsequent potential costs of the consumers associated with any potential increase to those utilities, to the increase to the supply side of electricity? In addition, questions have been raised about the water supply issue to both the municipal water supply and the potential of compromising well waters for both quantity and quality. That is, water consumption requirements for both industrial and household consumer use. I offer for informational purpose is the fact that within the said rumored potential data center area, the Colonial Hills development is on the Mifflin County water supply. All other residents surrounding the potential and proposed and rumored area rely on private wells for their water source. I repeat for clarity, the only homes in the Colonial Hill development are on the municipal water supply system, whereas all other residents in the proposed rumored data site area rely on private wells. What will the impact of those wells be? What will the impact to those that are on the municipal water supply be? Will the aquifer and water table of the area be negatively compromised? Will the existing water table be able to handle the volumes of water if wells are utilized for the operation of a data center? Do you know how many homes are located within the Colonial Hills development? Fast forward, my count is roughly 51 homes. Does anyone know how many homes are in the area between Black's Mansion, beyond Industrial Park Road to the curve where Mr. Fred Solt owned? There's roughly 16 homes in that area. And that excludes the Locust home development area and excludes the waterfront, waterside campgrounds, which, by the way, all of those homes are on well water. Like I've mentioned, there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of unanswered questions. And yet another point of caution is that it has been advertised that a data center could use a closed loop system, in quotes, in regards to the cooling process needed for the operation of a data center. In my opinion, there really is no such thing as a true closed loop system. I'm not a scientist, nor do I profess to be one, but the little bit of science that I do know, and I'm sure everyone in this room is well aware of from high school education, that in science, there's this thing called evaporation, especially in terms when we're speaking about water. Thus, a closed loop system, and with evaporation of the medium, that is, in this case, water, the medium, the water, will need to be replenished. And at what rate? And when we are speaking of hundreds of thousands of gallons, if not millions of gallons of water per day usage for the operation of a cooling system for a data center, and coupled with the science of evaporation, that replenishing system of water resource will be significantly extreme. Again, many more questions, many more concerns than answers. The one issue that I haven't heard talked about, and in my opinion, if it wasn't for this one topic, this whole data center issue would not even be discussed. And that is the topic of potential tax revenues or windfalls, form of revenue from a data center operation. While the allure of potential tax revenues or some sort of monetary windfalls for and or to the county, and for or to the township, and for to the county school district can be extremely enticing. But extreme caution is strongly advised before proceeding with any potential false or misleading promises. And not to be funny, because quite frankly, this is a serious issue and not to be taken lightly. But just like we all remember from the movie Jerry Maguire, the famous line was what? That line was, "Show me the money." which if you remember, Tom Cruise's character repeated over and over and even shouted, "Show me the money." My point is, unless any governmental, county, township, or any other entity that is being verbally or hearsay promised of any actual revenue or monetary windfall, then those revenues should be in a written and legally signed document. An actual legal binding and signed form that spells out and legally binds any said windfall of monetary gains and in extreme detail, along with and to what definitive timeline and definitive dollar amounts for any such windfall to be paid out or returned. Another question. Is there going to be, or are they? Yet another unknown, at least to the public at large. And that is, who are they? Yet another unknown. Are they going to ask for tax exoneration or tax release to develop or build or otherwise operate a data center? And how will any of that tax exoneration or tax relief, that is, offset any and how much of the said potential promised windfall? Any agreement based on purely on verbal agreement would be, in my opinion, a high disregard of a public official's duties, a high disregard of a public official's sworn duties to the taxpayers and residents of the county or township. I strongly suggest that no one in an official township or county office or an official role act on or agree to any possible misleading, perhaps false or verbal promises. I hope that all of you can agree with me and the many others that and more so because of the many concerns and the many unanswered questions, join me and, like the yard signs say, no data center. At this time, I'd like to present to you a complete, verified, hand-counted file of combined 6,601 online and actual petitions, signatures opposing the development of a data center in Granville Township, Mifflin County. 6,601 signatures and still counting. Mr. Wise, Mr. Fisher, you have an additional 170 at least signatures. 6,601 signatures opposing the development of a data center in Granville Township, Mifflin County. And at the very least, I ask you to recognize that 6,601 petition signatures have many of the same questions and concerns outlined here today. And at the very least, I ask you to recognize that the 6,601 petitioners are expressing many of these same concerns and are asking for legitimate answers to these many unanswered questions, and to honestly address the many unknowns. Maybe your signature is on one of these petitions, but then again, maybe not. Because I personally have heard some say, quote, "I'm not signing because I don't know enough about data centers," unquote. But in actuality, many, if not all, the 6,601 individuals signed exactly because of that. Because of the simple fact that they don't know enough about data centers. It is my hope that those that have not signed a petition in opposition to the development of a data center in Granville Township, Mifflin County, join me and the other 6,600, I guess I'm one, other petition signers and sign a petition, because I know you, like me, have both learned a lot about data centers in the last few weeks, but also because you, like me, still don't know enough about data centers. Both can be and actually are true at the same time. I'm also sure that as a part of your responsibility and self-inquiries that you have been doing your own homework to learn more about the proposed and potential of a rumored data center development in Granville Township. And I feel that with your investigation that you have many of the same questions and concerns. A brief little quip, if you will. A local auctioneer has this little catchy quip when he's selling a property and says, quote, "The time to buy a piece of property is the day it's for sale." Kind of catchy. There's a lot of truth to that. But I'm going to take the liberty to embellish on that little quip and say, the time to stop the development of a data center from being built or developed is before 1 inch of dirt is turned. There's one fact that I do know, and you will have to agree with me on this, is that once a data center is built here, there's no turning back. It will be here forever. And I truly believe, and I will agree with, and will agree with me and the many others that have, there are just too many unanswered questions in Valley. I have a petition form here with me. If anyone wants to sign one before I leave, sure would appreciate it. Because I know the fact that you know much more about data centers now, but at the same time, I also know you, like many of us, you, like me, we don't know what we don't know. And for that simple fact, I state and ask you to state, no data centers in Granville Township or in Mifflin County for that matter. I respectfully thank you for your time today, and I would like to present you with these signatures. Also in this pack is a little prepared statement that went with the petitions. Also, some fact sheet that was made not through AI, not through using data, but actually on a computer. And there's a letter here from a citizen, a businessman, Sean Miller, opposing. These are in a little bit of a, might seem like a disarray, but there were so many people gathering signatures. We have little small packets. All the packets have been numbered. All the signature numbers have been counted twice, just like Santa. We have how many pages are in each pack. And we also have the part of the pack is an online
Change.org.
change.org. Thank you. So I'd like to present that to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Michael, for that very thorough presentation. And I mean, this isn't the time for a discussion, it's more comment, but I think we agree that there are a lot of unknowns, as you had stated. We don't have the answers to those either. And our planning commission, if you haven't seen it yet, put out a guidance document asking these same types of questions that you have presented. Understand Granville Township is also circulating a draft ordinance, which I'm sure that you people know, and you should comment on because of some of the things that you brought up, I think are addressed in that ordinance. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what needs to be addressed in an ordinance, but obviously there are questions that still need to be talked about, discussed, not speculated, but you need answers from the developer, whoever this is. Okay. And all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Peters.
I see on the agenda the new direction the Veterans Affairs Office is taking, not really a new direction, but a step back in an old direction. I just wondered if you can enlighten us on anything that's going to change in the office, since I couldn't handle it.
Public comment.
That's a question, but I think the comment will be under review to see if there are any differences. And I think there are going to be differences. There are going to be differences. And that will be addressed by the new director,
It's not a new director. You're bringing back your buddy.
not my buddy.
It is.
No Q and
All
A.
right. Thank you, Jim. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Here are my notes.
It's like less than 3 minutes.
Mr. Postal and I are acquainted from when I was working at MCIDC and I worked at your company. Some of you may be acquainted with my work. It is I don't know what you call it today, whether you call it the drying building, the ultraviolet building, or the receiving building at the township processing center, the wastewater treatment center. I was the designer of it, and me and Pete Weaver basically saved the township somewhere in the neighborhood of $225,000 in our ability to build it out properly.
Different chapter in our lives.
Before that, I was the operator of a wastewater treatment research center down at Harrisburg's wastewater treatment. So I am an expert in wastewater treatment. And so I'm going to get into that in a minute. But that's basically where I'm coming from. I have the knowledge. I knew that there was going to be a data center proposed here before data centers were a thing. And the reason I know that is because I'm also an expert in the hardware of computers. Just because of what I've done out of my 40 years of design. And I know that it was going to be here because of that big pond up in the Seven Mountains, which now it dawns on me that there's probably a really good chance that the pipe that's coming down from there would not handle a data center as well as the communities that it already serves. And I don't know that, but I presume that that's why they're not going in that direction. I know that if there's going to be such a dramatic change in the aquifer service, as was mentioned, that this would have to be approved by EPA and would have to be approved by the state. And they would have to do a study, because with aquifers, it's not a question of how much water is there. It's how rapidly it gets replenished. In other words, there's an aquifer down in Harrisburg that moves at 30 miles an hour. They threw rail cars down when they accidentally broke into it, and they disappeared. So these are some aquifers, but other aquifers move in inches per day. So we don't really know what that aquifer is. So when that study comes back, then we will know what the capacity of it is possible. Okay. The power system in this county that supplies this county is not a good service for any large addition. And the evidence of that is that I live at the west end of the county, and they've just refit this whole system out there. And the interference and the problems that they have with their delivery system and the fluctuations of it have created 4 power outages that have ruined their equipment. So they're, it's a 6-hour, 8-hour replacement. So I doubt that there will be an effective process to easily get power for anything as big as what these folks propose. But that's speculation. I have no idea what the truth is. The other thing is that, like everybody else, I don't know who's doing this. And it's really, I can't judge who's doing this, because, maybe they make goldfish bowls, and maybe they need this study to find out why goldfish swim counterclockwise and around goldfish bowl. But maybe these people are also trying to, another group of people instead is trying to find the nuclear launch codes. Now, I'm using 2 extremes for an obvious reason. We don't know what's going to be product, but more importantly, we don't know who's going to be coming into our community and what type of people they are. And it's a broad scale, as you can see. So what I'm asking for is, once we are informed who they are, that we get a published FBI report on who they are. Now, that is my experience from Atlantic City and when the casinos first moved in there. And I'm not going to go into that here, but if you ask the story, I'll tell you the story, because it was told to me by a vice president of a large corporation. At any rate, that covers the power in the west end of the county. Now, here's the big deal, and that is the wastewater. I just finished a plant when I was last working in the industry that was a meat processing plant. Now, they are held to higher standards than regular industrial, because they're sitting on top. I'm transitioning. talking about cooling towers. I'm dealing with cooling towers because that's what they do, is they cool the water that they're going to supply to their electrical components. On buildings that manufacture or process food, you must drain your tank in every cooling tower on your roof every day. And that's a lot of gallonage. But the problem is that gallonage contains enough poisons and toxins to guarantee that Legionella does not exist in it. In other words, not just Legionella, I use that as the example because that's what we saw. When Legionella hit the industry in, I forget what, 1970s? What happened was that the people who make cooling towers discovered that this might have ended their entire industry because it was such a threat. So they did the nuclear option, and basically what they did is they flooded those tanks in the bottoms of those cooling towers with enough chemistry to kill anything and make sure it's dead. And it works and saved the industry. But what happens is that cooling water gets drained with food processing every day, with other industries every other day, every 3 days, depending on what industry it is. But okay, let's say 3 days, because bacteria growth is geometric. It goes, from little to big very quickly. So every 3 days they dump this stuff. We may be talking about 30 or 40 cooling towers, maybe more. I have no idea. Again, I have no idea. But I do know about the wastewater treatment. And that chemistry, when it hits the wastewater treatment, kills the plant. It basically makes the plant inert because the plant relies on its biome of bacteria to process the waste. So what happens, I had 5 cooling towers on top of my food processing plant, and it was in a major city. And when we turned that on, I got a very, very brisk call from the manager of my wastewater treatment center. He was not happy because he just watched his biome drop dramatically. Okay, with the size of this unit that is proposed, no matter how big it is, they get dramatic 550 kilowatt megawatts, fine. It's going to, as soon as they turn it on, it's going to flood that wastewater center. And it's going to kill every piece of bacteria that's in there. And it's going to keep it dead because it's going to be refreshed every 3 days, 2 days, or 1 day with brand new poison. And this is the epitome of not sustainable. Not only that, but you can kill the bacteria that are coming down through the rest of the municipal waste with chlorine. You can use ultraviolet systems and be really fancy. But what happens here is that when that wastewater from the cooling towers hits the Juniata, it kills everything that from here to Mifflintown because it's going to have that much potential. Now, the solution is that you use, instead of using cooling towers, you use standard refrigeration heat pumps. I mean, these are specified to do exactly the same job. They don't take any water at all. Now you typically pump your closed system cooling water up to that, and it cools it and brings it down just like you expect, and everything's happy, everybody's lovely. But they take more power and they are more expensive to buy. They're not nearly as expensive to operate because you're not pumping water into them. Some of these towers will express 1 million cubic feet of air circulating through them to evaporate the water, which is what causes the cooling. And it brings a lot of moisture out into the air. So the problem is that as this system ages, it will go in, if the wrong people are operating it, it will go into disrepair, and then it will be a biochemical threat.
I hate to interrupt it because this is very interesting. Really is. I'm being facetious, but you're getting into engineering and details that are really maybe later on could be asked to the engineers or presented to the engineers. I think your comment is it's very complicated and detailed, and there's a lot of processing and engineering that needs to be done and reviewed and approved.
No, sir, that is not the reason I'm here. The reason I'm here is I'm asking you to pass an ordinance that says that they may not, well, what happens to these things is they do the approvals with the heat pumps. And as soon as the ink is dry, those heat pumps are dumped and they are put in cooling towers. I am asking you to pass an ordinance that says that they may not do that.
Okay, thank you. Did you spell your last name?
Well,
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you for all the public comment. You could stay. We have the rest of our meeting, or you could leave if you like.
Talk to you guys, yeah. If you want to stay.
All right, let's turn to new business. We turn to Carol. We have Yeagertown Area Road Reconstruction.
Good morning.
Morning.
PG funded project really well. Item A, there's a reconciliation change order to decrease the construction contract by 9,000.
Motion carries. I think Derrytown already approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
Okay,
our procedure the last couple of years since the folks been involved is to make sure that we have an approval from the local municipality before we bring it to the commissioners.
thank you. And B, it's a pay application number 1.
Yes, it's the first and the final. Grannis Brothers put in asphalt for their work on the Yeagertown Road Reconstruction Project. This is using Dairy Township allocations from fiscal years 22, 23, 24. Even with all those 3 years of funding, it's a big project, and Dairy Township is paying the excess amount of $77,224, and I just approved that on Monday. So this is a request to approve the payment application that will be drawn from CDBG funds.
Okay, so we heard the report. I'll make a motion to pay application number 1, which is final to Grannis Brothers for the Yeagertown Area Road Reconstruction Project.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. And opposed. Okay, Carol, pay that.
So item C is, this is the county's 2022 competitive CDBG award. We also have a reconciliation change order as that project is complete. That was, there were some reductions in materials cost and some increases, with the difference in increase of $790.14 for slightly higher new contract price. That was with Geyer Brothers Construction. The substantial completion of that project was back in January. We also needed to increase the contract through the beginning of June in order to do the reseeding on Tower Hill and the reconstruction of Brown's House Road. So this change order leads that project.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the reconciliation change order number 4 for $790.14 for the Juniata Terrace Water Main project.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, continue, Carol.
Thank you. This one, the same project, the competitive 22 award for the Juniata Terrace Water Main Replacement Project. We have the final payment application number 4 for Geyer Brothers. And then this will close out this project. We have an end date of August 30th, which I'm confident will meet. And that will close out.
Okay,
22.
so then I will make a motion to pay application number 4, which is final pay application for the Juniata Water United Terrace Water Main CDBG project, which is due to be completed in the summer. I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, a couple of personnel items. We have the hiring of James Conway for Veteran Affairs Officer. We have the promotion of Curtis Baylor and Alexia Berry from part-time corrections officer to full-time. Hiring of Anisha Ardner, for children and youth casework. And the appointment of Lauren Seckler for the internship in children and youth. There a motion to approve these 4 personnel items.
So move for the motion.
Oh, okay, then I'll second that.
That's the part.
The last one I couldn't get through. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our agenda is complete. Meeting adjourned.
Hearing.
Last time.
He's got to be